San Francisco Bay Wildlife Society provides to the local communities a place for exploration and discovery. From the history to the ecology, this region of the country is very special.
The San Francisco Bay Wildlife Society is a not-for-profit organization that works directly with the San Francisco Bay National Wildlife Refuge Complex.
Specifically, our mission is to nurture in the public a sense of understanding, appreciation, and stewardship, and to conserve, preserve, and restore baylands as essential wildlife habitat.
We were established in 1987 and originally worked as a cooperative organization assisting the refuge and other refuges within this region with financial opportunities.
We organized a bookstore, we published books and brochures about the refuges, we raised funds for equipment, materials for environmental education. We developed long-term relationships with the Santa Clara Valley Urban Runoff Pollution Prevention Program and the City of San Jose that enabled us to hire staff over these decades, providing environmental education and interpretive programs at the Environmental Education Center in Alviso. In 2015, we formally became a Friends group. These not-for-profit organizations are authorized by Congress to support education, interpretation, and research activities of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Anyone who's walked on a refuge trail and felt the breeze, heard the birds calling, watched a flock of ducks or shorebirds glide to a landing on the refuge ponds knows why these refuges are critical to the people who live around them. With a focus on endangered and threatened species, being stewards of their habitats in the complex, and working with communities that surround the refuges, the Society works to develop partnerships and advocates for these very important places.
Whenever I'm here, I just look at the wetlands, and it always reminds me that things are underappreciated sometimes, and if we look closer and we learn more, then we can understand that the wetlands and other things in nature and even in ourselves are just more than they appear.
The Bay Area is home to a plethora of diverse communities, all that border refuge lands, and I think it's so important that we have access to public lands so people can come anytime to enjoy the beauty of nature, to reconnect with this space, and also just to see wildlife and kind of be involved in the protection of this landscape.
We want them to think of these public lands and waters as their backyard so they can continue exploring and discovering.
As an urban refuge, we're surrounded by a lot of urban communities. A lot of our Bayside communities are within really close proximity to landfills, wastewater treatment facility plants. Especially, I think, with climate change and with sea level rise, our Bayside communities are the most vulnerable to those climate impacts. The Society has been able to provide educational materials and other resources about climate change, about pollution prevention, and about ways that we can protect this landscape.
We work with our neighbors to foster and grow resilient communities for a sustainable future. The Society supports the refuge through a variety of programs, such as Watershed Watchers, our summer camp program, volunteer opportunities, and other biological work, such as endangered species surveys and habitat restoration.
The Watershed Watchers program is a grant-funded and community-driven program that seeks to educate our local communities about not only the importance of watersheds and healthy watersheds, but how they can actually play a role in protecting those spaces as well.
Our Watershed Watchers program gives local community members the tools and resources that they need to help prevent urban runoff pollution from entering their local watersheds and ultimately the refuge. We have a variety of volunteer opportunities available, including welcome desks to greet visitors on the weekends, interpretive programs such as leading hikes for groups, helping with education programs for elementary school students, as well as helping with our habitat restoration program.
Accessibility and environmental education. When I think about that, I think about our ancestors. We just have this connection with nature and the earth because we knew if we sustain the earth, we sustain ourselves. For accessibility, it's a matter of bringing people back having them reconnect with something they know deep inside, that this is their planet, this is where they come from, and it's kind of in them to take care of it.
One way we were able to provide equitable access is by having both English and Spanish version of our programs for the Latino communities nearby.
For over 40 years, the Refuge has hosted an annual summer camp, which has always been free to all participants. Over the past 2 years, with the onset of the pandemic, we've had to shift this summer camp into a virtual format to make it as safe and accessible as possible. We are committed to adapting a hybrid model of outreach, hosting programs here when it's safe to do so, and also to provide a virtual option.
Our programs and materials have been more accessible than they've ever been, and that's allowed us to just reach an entirely new audience. And I feel like that's been a very special way for us to have actually been really successful during these really difficult times.
Being able to come out to the Refuge amidst the pandemic and listen to the wind rustling in the trees, hear the bird calls, look out at the glistening water has brought a sense of peace and a great escape from all the things that have been happening.
Education is one of the most critical things we could do to engage the public and develop this stewardship. Educating the public, educating young people, and bringing in new generations and new ideas will be critical to the future of the society and the support it provides the Refuge Complex.
Moving forward, we have to bring people into the picture and have them see that not only is this their land, but they have the power to make it better for themselves and for future generations. We need to kind of put those two things together, wildlife and people, because we can't have one without the other. You can't have, a healthy landscape without healthy people.
It really does feel like a community effort that we're able to reach out into those different partner organizations, local schools, and anybody that we're able to partner with to kind of see what their needs are and see how we can all kind of work toward that ideal future together. I think it's a really special place.
We've been working to protect endangered and threatened species, hosting programs, and engaging with local communities for many years. But now, more than ever, we need your help. With the well-being of humans, wildlife, and the environment threatened by climate change, we need your support so that we can instill a deep understanding of these issues within our communities and develop future generations of environmental stewards.
If you're interested in getting involved, there are a variety of ways to do so. You can become a donating member, attend one of our many programs, volunteer, follow us on social media, and share your Refuge story with us.